The distress signal. The emergency broadcast. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the UNS Horizon, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace fade into the familiar darkness of normal space. Her crew had been returning from a routine diplomatic mission to the Corvin Collective when the emergency transmission came through. Every ship within 3 sectors had received it simultaneously, cutting through all other communications with piercing urgency. The message was brief and terrifying. Station Zenith 9, a massive trading hub that housed over 2 million beings from 47 different species, had gone dark. No communications. No distress signals. Just silence where there should have been the constant chatter of one of the galaxy's busiest commercial centers. The gathering storm. Within hours, dozens of ships had assembled near the station's last known coordinates. Sarah watched as the view screen filled with vessels of every imaginable design. The Corvin sent their crystalline cruisers that sparkled like diamonds in the starlight. The Theks arrived in their bioorganic ships that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Even the reclusive Draenus had dispatched 3 of their angular, blade-like destroyers. The humans were represented by 5 ships, including the Horizon. They were the newest members of the Galactic Council, having joined barely 2 years ago. Many of the older species still viewed humanity with a mixture of curiosity and mild condescension. Humans were young, impulsive, and lacked the centuries of military experience that the other races possessed. Lieutenant Marcus Webb approached Sarah with a datapad. His expression was grim. The tactical scans were coming back, and the news was worse than anyone had anticipated. Station Zenith 9 was still there, but it was completely dead. No power signatures, no life signs, no heat emissions. It was as if someone had flipped a switch and turned off everything at once. The debate begins. The Emergency Council meeting convened immediately via quantum link. Representatives from each species appeared as holographic projections on the Horizon's bridge. The Corvin ambassador, a being of crystalline beauty named Thessera, spoke first. Her voice resonated like wind chimes. She proposed sending in automated probes to investigate the station before risking any lives. The Theks commander, Growlthor, disagreed. His multiple eyes blinked in sequence as he argued that probes could be compromised or destroyed. They needed ships with crews capable of making real-time decisions. The Draenus representative said nothing, but her silence spoke volumes. The Draenus never committed to any course of action until they had calculated every possible outcome. Sarah listened to the debate with growing frustration. Hours were passing while they talked in circles. 2 million beings were on that station, possibly dying, possibly already dead. Every minute they delayed could mean the difference between rescue and recovery of bodies. The human solution. Finally, Sarah cleared her throat. The holographic representatives turned their attention to her, some with barely concealed irritation at the interruption. She spoke calmly but firmly. Humanity would send in a team. They would take the risk. If something went wrong, only human lives would be lost, and the other species would have valuable data about whatever threat they were facing. The council chamber erupted in protests. The Corvin claimed it was too dangerous. The Theks argued that humans lacked the experience for such a mission. Even the stoic Draenus spoke up, warning that sacrificing lives needlessly was poor strategy. But Sarah had done her homework. She pointed out that human ships had the most advanced shielding technology, a recent development that the other species had not yet adopted. She reminded them that humans had experience with dead ship scenarios from their own history of space exploration. Most importantly, she emphasized that while they debated, people were dying. The decision. The vote was close, but eventually the council agreed. The humans would send in the first reconnaissance team. If they discovered the nature of the threat, the other species would commit their forces to a full rescue operation. Sarah immediately began selecting her team. She chose her best pilot, Jackson Reed, who could navigate tight spaces with precision. She selected Dr. Elena Vasquez, a xenobiologist with experience in hostile environments. And she chose Chief Engineer Thomas Burke, who could repair almost anything with whatever tools were available. The four of them would take the Horizon's smallest shuttle, the Phoenix. It was fast, maneuverable, and equipped with the latest scanning technology. As they prepared for departure, Sarah couldn't shake a feeling of unease. The silence from Station Zenith 9 was unnatural. In all of galactic history, there were no records of an entire station going dark so completely and so suddenly. Into the unknown. The Phoenix launched from the Horizon's shuttle bay with a whisper of thrust. Jackson guided the small craft toward the massive dark silhouette of Station Zenith 9. The station was enormous, a wheel-shaped structure that spun slowly to create artificial gravity. But now it hung motionless in space, a tomb of metal and composite materials. As they approached, the shuttle's sensors began picking up strange readings. There was something wrong with the station's hull. Burn marks? No, something else. The metal looked corroded in places, as if it had been exposed to some kind of chemical agent. Dr. Vasquez leaned forward in her seat, her eyes widening as she studied the data. Sarah felt her heart rate increase. Whatever had happened to Station Zenith 9, they were about to be the first to discover it. Behind them, dozens of ships from across the galaxy watched and waited. The fate of 2 million beings hung in the balance, and humanity had volunteered to face the unknown first. Inside the dark. The docking procedure. Jackson Reed's hands moved across the Phoenix's controls with practiced precision. Docking with a powered station was routine. Docking with a completely dead one was another matter entirely. The automated guidance systems were offline, and the docking clamps weren't responding to their signals. He would have to do this manually, matching the shuttle's trajectory to the slowly tumbling station. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he made micro-adjustments to the thrusters. The Phoenix crept closer to the docking port, inch by careful inch. Sarah watched the distance readings decrease on her screen, her jaw clenched. One wrong move and they could damage the shuttle or, worse, breach the station's hull and vent any atmosphere that might remain inside. With a soft clang that resonated through the shuttle's frame, they made contact. Thomas immediately activated the emergency docking procedure, using the Phoenix's own mechanical clamps to secure them to the station. He ran a quick diagnostic and nodded. The seal was good. They wouldn't decompress when they opened the hatch. Entering the station. The team suited up in their environment suits, checking each other's seals and equipment. These weren't the bulky suits of old Earth astronauts. Modern human environmental gear was sleek, flexible, and packed with sensors. Each suit had its own oxygen supply, radiation shielding, and enough power to last for 48 hours. Sarah was the first through the airlock. Her helmet light cut through absolute darkness, revealing a corridor that should have been brightly lit and bustling with activity. Instead, it was a tunnel of shadows. Her boots touched down on the deck plating with magnetic seals, necessary since the station's artificial gravity was offline. The silence was oppressive. Even through her suit, Sarah could feel the wrongness of it. Dr. Vasquez's voice came through the comm system, calm but tinged with concern. The atmospheric readings were strange. The station still had air, but it was several degrees colder than it should be, and the oxygen content was slightly lower than normal. The first discovery. They moved through the corridors in a tight formation, their helmet lights creating overlapping circles of illumination. Thomas continuously scanned for power sources, hoping to find an auxiliary generator they could restart. Elena examined every surface they passed, looking for clues about what had happened. It was Elena who first spotted the bodies. They were floating near the ceiling of a large cargo bay, suspended in the zero-gravity like grotesque balloons. Sarah's stomach churned as she counted them. 15 beings of various species, all wearing the standard uniforms of station personnel. Their expressions were frozen in terror. Jackson pushed off from the floor and used his suit thrusters to reach the nearest body. He examined it carefully, looking for signs of trauma or injury. There were none. No wounds, no burns, no obvious cause of death. It was as if they had simply stopped living, all at once. The pattern emerges. As they moved deeper into the station, they found more bodies. Hundreds of them. All floating peacefully in the darkness, all with the same expression of sudden fear. But there was something else, something that made Sarah's blood run cold. The bodies were grouped together in specific areas. The corridors were empty, but every common area, every gathering place, every cafeteria and lounge, was filled with the dead. Dr. Vasquez's voice cut through Sarah's dark thoughts. She had found something in one of the control rooms. The team converged on her location quickly. Elena was examining a control panel that still had residual power. She had managed to access the station's emergency logs, the last records before everything went dark. The timestamp showed that the event had happened suddenly. One moment, the station was functioning normally. The next, every system had simultaneously failed. But that wasn't the most disturbing part. The environmental systems hadn't just failed. They had been deliberately shut down. Someone, or something, had turned off the station's life support from multiple access points simultaneously. The revelation. Thomas found the source of the shutdown in the main engineering section. A device had been attached to the station's primary computer core. It was small, about the size of a briefcase, and covered in symbols that none of them recognized. The technology was completely foreign, unlike anything in the galactic database. Sarah immediately transmitted the images back to the horizon. Within minutes, responses came flooding in from the assembled fleet. The Corvin had never seen anything like it. The Thexa's databases contained no matches. Even the ancient Draenus, whose civilization spanned millennia, had no record of such technology. But there was something about the device that troubled Sarah. It looked purpose-built, precise, and efficient. This wasn't some weapon of mass destruction. It was a tool, designed to disable rather than destroy. Whoever had done this had wanted the station intact. They had wanted the bodies preserved. But why? The warning. Elena's sharp intake of breath drew everyone's attention. She had accessed another section of the logs, hidden deeper in the system. It was a personal message, recorded by the station's commander in the final moments before the shutdown. The video showed a Corvin female, her crystalline features contorted with fear. Her voice was distorted, breaking up as the station's power failed. But her words were clear enough. She spoke of ships appearing without warning, vessels that moved unlike anything she had ever seen. She spoke of a demand, simple and direct. The station was to be evacuated immediately. All inhabitants were to leave everything behind and depart within 1 hour. But there were 2 million beings on Station Zenith 9. Evacuation procedures took time, coordination, and preparation. 1 hour was impossible. The station's commander had tried to negotiate, tried to explain that they needed more time. The response had been immediate and final. The unknown ships had deployed the device, and the station had gone dark. The trap springs. Thomas's scanner suddenly screamed a warning. Power signatures were appearing all around the station, dozens of them. Sarah's blood turned to ice as she realized what was happening. The device hadn't just shut down the station. It had been broadcasting, sending out a signal into deep space. And now, something was answering that call. Through the station's viewports, they could see ships emerging from hyperspace. They were like nothing in the galactic database, sleek and predatory, their hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. And they were surrounding the fleet of rescue ships that had gathered outside. Sarah grabbed her comm unit and sent an emergency transmission to the horizon. Her voice was urgent as she warned them about the trap. But even as she spoke, she knew it might be too late. The unknown ships were already moving, and humanity's first major decision in galactic affairs had led them all into danger.